Dr. Death, Part 3. A story by E.B.'s Heart. Obum quickly got a hold of himself and ran to the sink to wash his hands. He washed everything off and covered the young man up, showing he had died. He came out of the theater and ordered his nurses to go back to their station and stay away from the theater. What have I gotten myself into? How can I drink human blood? This payment is too much. Is it really worth my success? No, everything is worth my success. I will do anything to remain on top, he said and stood up. He walked to the waiting room and announced the death of the young man. His family started wailing and complaining of how his injury was too minor for him to have died, but Obum maintained a straight face and waited for their reaction when they see his corpse. They saw his corpse, but no one noticed anything odd. It means they don't even see his corpse that way, Obum said to himself, dancing again in his office. He continued making his payment, and in due time. Every month, a young vibrant patient who is not sick dies mysteriously. No one could question him because his words were law and his influence mysterious. He became so rich and a very famous humanitarian. He built foundations and orphanages to deceive people. Everyone sang his praises. After all, he was just a successful medical doctor who worked hard for his success. No one knew the story behind such success. It took him years to get married. He didn't want anyone prying in his business, but the pressure from his parents wouldn't allow him to live like he wanted. He got married, and once his wife got pregnant, he sent her abroad to stay while he stayed back in the country. His sibling and parents became super rich. Everyone referenced them as that grass to grace rich family. Every nurse in his hospital knew something was wrong, but it always seemed like a distant memory. Obum noticed something very odd about himself. He doesn't age at all. Since he started payment to the woman that gave him wealth when he was in his early 30s, he had remained the same and even younger. This made him to stop visiting his parents and siblings because he was looking like a boy and everyone kept pointing it out. Then 40 years later, Obum's parents were long dead. Some of his siblings were dead too, while some were old. He had stopped visiting his family abroad due to his looks. He looked way younger than his only child. When coming to work, he will wear fake only child to the hospital. He had an accident while playing football and sustained head injury. Blood was flowing from his head. Immediately Obum saw him. He knew the boy will be his next sacrifice. The boy's mother, Mrs. Ali, was pacing about in the waiting room of the hospital while talking on the phone with relatives who were also on their way to the hospital to provide support to her. Few hours after taking the 17-year-old boy into the theater to stitch his head that was torn, Obum came out to announce that he was dead. Everyone around started crying, but his mother didn't cry. "I want to see my son," she commanded. When she did, she shouted, "What have you done to my son, and why is he almost like a skeleton?" This is the very first time anyone could see the corpse as it was. Immediately she said that, it was if everyone's eyes opened that instant and they all screamed what? Obum, who was still shocked and terrified of being found out, quickly ran to his office and they all ran after him. He ran into his office and locked the door. "Open this door." They all started banging on the door and shouting at the top of their voices. By then the police were already on their way. When the police got there, Obum's office door was forcefully opened, but he had disappeared.
Please like, share and follow for the next part.